Welcome to the Oneness Movement for Humanity. Our collective destiny is glorious. Let's work together.
Hi everyone, my name is Mit Gopal. Today's podcast is a reading from my book, Preserving Oneness of Humanity. The title is Tribalism Won't Last Forever, Thank God. Since 2015, tribalism has been on the rise, according to some trend analysts. If this statement is true, it poses as one of the most significant obstacles to the oneness of humanity. Let's look deeper. In its basic form, a tribe is the oldest social structure going back to prehistoric times. Tribalism suggests limited consciousness, yet extreme loyalty, with the exaltation of one group above other groups. There are many causes for such a formation. The main reason is that humans are social beings with a high kinship to one's family and ancestry, thus providing strength and protection against both nature and human adversaries. Over time, within a group or cultures, certain survival skills grew and were passed on from one generation to another. Many tribes have survived the tests of time, while many others are extinct. For example, in Canada, there exist now about 60 tribes, also known as First Nations. In Judeo-Christian traditions, there were 12 tribes of Israel that were scattered around the world. In 242 BC, the tribal assembly in the Roman Republic included 34 tribes. Though thousands of tribes still exist in many parts of the world, the social structure of humankind has evolved into cities, regions, nations, and federations. Back to modern time, according to David Ropick, tribalism is pervasive and it controls a lot of our behavior, readily overriding reason. He made this claim in a blog post, How Tribalism Overrules Reason and Makes Risky Times More Dangerous. To illustrate what he meant, Ropick provided a powerful metaphor. When he was growing up as a kid, his synagogue was right across the street from a Catholic church, thus making Bellevue Avenue the dividing line between the chosen ones and the saved ones. Just like the tribe instincts of the old, one group was the enemy of the other, Ideology, religion, and culture were the dividing lines, and each needed protection from the other. This is not unique to USA, where Rupick grew up. In the 19th century, Main Street in Newmarket, Ontario, Canada, was the dividing line between the dominant Protestants and newly arrived Irish Catholics. Rupick explains the grouping as an inner need for belonging and identity. Just as birds of a feather flock together. If there is a threat, real or not, then the group will rise to protect itself with whatever means available. According to Amy Chow, author of Political Tribes, Group Instincts and the Fate of Nations, there is a new phenomenon called white anxiety. For example, in the UK, many Brits felt their way of life was threatened by immigrants, and when they got a chance to air their grievances, they voted to opt out of European Union, EU, in a referendum in 2016. I don't hate you, but I have to protect my own, claimed many Brexit supporters. Now, how serious is white anxiety? Such a sentiment is increasing in Europe and North America, giving rise to the alt-right and neo-Nazis. It is a tribal instinct, as it comes from fear of losing their power and privileges. Insecurity is expressed through demonstrations and in elections. The opposing groups want right wings banned outright, claiming their approach of protests is violent, offensive, and racist. Although I don't subscribe to white supremacy and the tactics used by its supporters, their concerns must be heard in a greater dialogue for our social well-being. As I have mentioned in a previous podcast, expressing one's beliefs, however different they may be from mine, is sacred to me. More importantly, despite their white supremacy leanings, first and foremost, they are part of the human family. Unfortunately, politicians and leaders use the concerns of certain groups to divide us further. In his blog, Rupick concluded that it's a sobering reflection on this inherent and potentially destructive aspect of human nature in these unsettled and threateningly uncertain times. Like Amy Chow, I am very optimistic that humanity, while facing many challenges, has the capacity to resolve social problems and has done so in some of the most difficult situations. For example, the dissension between the Catholics and Protestants in Ireland has been resolved to the point that they are not resorting to violence anymore. In Newmarket Main Street is a bustling place with flavors of the old town without the religious acrimony of the past. Instead of being an ideological divide, the old section of this town is lined up with Mexican, Japanese, Indian, and Middle Eastern restaurants where patrons of different races, cultures mingle in a social setting. Diversity is not to be feared, but embraced. This is what exactly happened in Toronto, the most multicultural city in Canada. In 1971, when I first stepped into this city, 90% of the population was white. The 2016 census indicates that 51.5% of Toronto's population is composed of visible minorities. Over 250 ethnic groups call this fair city home, where all live in harmony, working, raising families, and enjoying life. But if any one of them were to be threatened, of course, the survival instinct would kick in, and that group would fight back with all its might. Leaders of our time have the responsibility to protect the rights of all to find a peaceful coexistence. Unfortunately, some choose to divide us for their own benefits. So the latest version of tribalism has some resemblance of the past human experience, but it has morphed into sometimes different with characteristics of unbending divisiveness. Many ideological groups such as feminist, right-wing, left-wing, environmentalist, to mention a few, are forming with heightened zeal and passion. All are sincere in their efforts to change society, professing to be justice warriors of modern times, powered by the strong commitment and sincerity of staunch believers. They are willing to fight like the tribes of old times. It is also true that such a mentality makes us ignore the big picture of social changes. In society, many important aspects play a role in bringing out the best in us, such as education, jobs, safety, security, and consciousness. For example, what if the demands of environmentalists are so great that they block projects that are directly affecting the livelihood of many? So how can balance be maintained? Empathy and kind considerations are needed to move forward when diverse tribal forces are at play. During the ideological battles get fierce, progress is at risk. During these challenging times, trust in each other and institutions is eroding. With trust restored, competing tribes can get together for consultation on issues of great importance to communities, nations, and the world, where everyone's viewpoint is carefully considered and the final decision is reached by overseeing institutions. After such a decision is made, all parties will support the decision. Thus, harmony can be restored and progress not undermined. What about the oneness of humanity when it comes to tribalism? Transitioning from ideological tribalism to peaceful coexistence is not only possible, but inevitable. Conflict is tiring, and cooperation is uplifting. Of such change, there is one great lesson from history. The European nations have fought wars for thousands of years, but World War II changed the consciousness of warmongering nations. Now, joined in a confederation of 27 nations. Each EU member state is different from another in culture, history, language, and temperament. Yet, this union is a friendly place to live, where war has been avoided for over 7 decades. In any human endeavor, challenges always exist, and it is so for Europeans. However, while keeping their differences, EU nations treat each other with respect and are tied together in an abiding trust. The cooperative atmosphere enables these sovereign members to live in peace and harmony. In conclusion, Baha'u'llah's wish is slowly coming true. In the late 19th century, he said, "These strifes and this bloodshed and discord must cease, and all men be as one kindred and one family."
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to listen to more content on the Oneness Movement, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment. See you next time.